Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It is the deep dive. I'm Chris Page. That man right there is Josh Williams as normal. We're going to be trying to look at Jurgen Klopp, Arne Slot's. I said to someone this morning that I always do that, you know. Do you know what it was about as well? Have you seen that video from Bramley Moor Dock last night?
Yeah.
And the fella whipping the fried chicken and robbing it?
I haven't seen that, no.
Oh, mate, it's class. I'll show you afterwards, right? And then I sent it to my brother, who's obviously a Blue and stuff, and he's like, no, Klopp like that. And I was like, nah, he went to say Goodison. That's what I do when I go and say Klopp, because you get used to saying things all the time. Anyway, if you haven't seen that, check it out. It's funny.
I'm quite bad for that, to be fair, saying Klopp.
Yeah, it's so easy. It's 9.5 years of it, you know what I mean? And anyway, we're here to look at what Arne Slot might potentially do in the summer and stuff like that. But I think to get into it, first and foremost, Josh, I want to look at the squad ages as a bit of a jumping off point and just sort of get your opinions on what you can see so far. So this is a graph that was made by one of our Discord subscribers, Joel Smith. He's at Wholesome on Discord. And this was taken from a document he shared with me a couple of weeks ago. What is it that you notice, first of all? Obviously, it's every player in the squad by age, and then you can see the prime ages are sort of built into it as well.
I think first and foremost, I don't think we're doing too badly, is what my first thought would be. I think that's generally a good distribution of ages across the squad. And I think with a team like Liverpool, who in my opinion should always be competing for the Premier League and the Champions League, you should have a squad that's generally either peaking or maybe within 2 years of peaking. You know, so from like the age of 23 to 30, it should be predominantly grouped within inside that, really. Mm-hmm. And I think we pretty much are. I think one of the worries, which I'm sure you're going to point out, is arguably our two best players, arguably three actually, are out of contract, but arguably our two best players are the two oldest in the team, really.
Yeah.
And that's obviously something that, if you're looking forward to succession planning, you need to be mindful of that, like.
Yeah, and you can see that there. Obviously, there's no Alisson Becker on this. Keepers aren't on there, but you know, I think their prime age is slightly different to an outfield player anyway. But that was just for the sake of completeness there. And yeah, Virgil van Dijk, Mo Salah, Endo, and Robertson are the four players there you can see in the squad that are probably past their prime, as it were, in terms of the normal age distribution and stuff like that. So yeah, quite an interesting sort of look there. And I think that's a pretty good jumping off point to maybe the next graphic that I've got lined up for you, because we're going to take a look at the sort of squad depth, as it were. Now, you can see Diaz and Jones. Diaz is backing up Gakpo, and he's also in the centre-forward position. You can see Jones backs up two players, which is why one of those is in yellow. Generally speaking, these are the players, this is the sort of first choice, first 11 right now. Everybody's sort of fit. And you can see that we've got pretty much two for every position. I've included Mamardashvili because we're looking ahead at next season, which will give us the three goalkeepers. It's unlikely to stay like this though, isn't it, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, again, it does look healthy though. I think we've got more depth, generally speaking, than every team in the Premier League for me. But crucially, the players that are not particularly prominent at Liverpool would be really valued elsewhere. So even some of the third strings that we've got, like for example, if Kelleher is the third string, I think Kelleher could be playing for, you know, top half Premier League relatively comfortably. And I think if you're going to sell him this coming summer, depending on the length of his current contract, I'm not sure how many years he's got left, but I think you're looking at upwards of beyond 30, arguably. Harvey Elliott there as well is another one. I think Chiesa is arguably starting for Arsenal right now, considering the injuries they've got, but he can't even get on. He can't get minutes at Liverpool, so I think we've got a really strong squad there. But given the contract situations and stuff, and given the fact that Hughes has been in the building now for a year, Slot's been in the building for a season, they might just get to a point now where they're like, right, we do a lot of cosmetic work now and make all our tweaks in one summer. So it's going to be really interesting to see what they do moving forward.
I think you're absolutely right. And the elephant in the room is the contracts, isn't it? I mean, that is the big one, because that is going to have a massive impact on how much work you need to do in the summer transfer window.
That's what's annoying though, because we wanna talk about transfers. We want to talk about what we're going to do in the summer, link certain players to us and things like that. You know, I'm currently looking at left backs and that with pieces that I'm doing. But the bottom line is, we don't really know until them three are sorted. What's going on? Do we need a centre back? Do we need a right sided forward? Do we need a new right back? That's going to have a big impact. Until we know exactly what's going on there, it's just speculation, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think, listen, I'm still of the opinion, I don't know whether you agree, that I think Salah and Van Dijk are likely to stay. And I think Trent, maybe we're going to end up saying goodbye to him in some way in this summer. And again, I don't know what you think to
that. I think Van Dijk stays. I think Salah probably stays, but I have a little bit less faith compared to Van Dijk. And Trent is a complete coin flip for me. I just do not know what he's thinking, what his camp's thinking, what Real Madrid have offered. Difficult, that one. But I'm probably leaning towards thinking Trent will go, yeah. It's the age thing, innit, with Salah and Van Dijk. Like, very easy keeps, really, when you look at the performance of the pair of them. But because of the age of them, and you've got to appreciate they are exceptions. But if Liverpool are looking at it really cold, and just like, well, you're 34 though, or something like that, there could just be a conflict there. So you just got to hope that they all get done. But I think I'm with you. I think it's 2 out of 3.
Yeah, and I'm quite interested the fact that you said you were most sure about Van Dijk, because the next graphic I've just kept Van Dijk and looked at what we would look at, and you can see there all of a sudden it's a completely different vibe from the squad, I suppose. I mean, Chiesa becomes your first choice right winger. Bradley becomes your first choice right back. Gomez is actually be used in 2 positions as cover. Diaz is now used in 3 positions as cover. Ben Doak's now joined the party as well. And that is quite a scary sort of thing. Even if you just kept Van Dijk, that for me, Josh, is it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the main things I picked up on immediately there, very on brand with what I'm usually about, but we don't have a single left footer there in the front line. All of those forwards you can see are right footed, and for balance purposes, I don't like that. You know what I'm like? I like the idea of a left footer over here, and I think Chiesa could stay around and help out and do some minutes and things like that, but Salah would obviously have to be replaced, in my opinion, with a left footer who's got output to his game. Even Conor Bradley, who I'm a big fan of, am I harsh in saying like he's injured a bit more than you'd want? If he's painted as like the successor, which I'm relatively fine with, how often is he available? Because it feels to me like he does pick up the odd little niggle here and there. Yeah,
he has. I'm gonna get the stats up now and have a look at his injury history. Now, he missed 9 games so far this season. 38 days he was out for with a hamstring injury. Last season he missed 22 days and 6 games, and with an ankle injury and a back injury missed 25 games, 128 days. Excuse me.
But that's despite him not really playing that much. So I'm just factoring in, like, if you're taking Trent's minutes and you're already out that much, surely you're going to be out a bit more. So what I'm getting at really is, obviously, again, even if Bradley's the successor, I think you sign another right back. You can't have Joe Gomez covering 2 spots there. Absolutely no chance.
Especially with his injury history. Well, let's go to the graphic where we showcase all 3 of them not in the side. And you can see all of a sudden, I mean, you can take a coin flip on whether it's Kwanzaa or Gomez, but Kwanzaa's fit, so I'll put Kwanzaa in for Virgil van Dijk. You've now got no Virgil van Dijk, no Mo Salah, no Trent Alexander-Arnold. Your centre-backs, your 4 centre-backs are looking...
That's a scary thought, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that team suddenly... It is really suddenly as well, but that looks more like a challenging for top 4 squad to me suddenly. Without Trent, Van Dijk and Salah, who are your difference makers, you know, your best players, your outliers. Still a good squad. You know, healthy midfield department, some good forward options in there, but you're not winning a league title with that. So the surgery that you're conducting, the business that you're doing, suddenly
It's open heart surgery.
Yeah, it's a lot of business to do in one summer. Like if you want to keep competing at the summit,
It is, and there's other players that we can obviously bring in as well. You mentioned off camera Stefan Bajcetic and stuff like that, which goes into midfield, but doesn't really help us with the crux of the issue, which is you need a right back, you need a centre half, and you need a right winger. And I think looking at that graphic again, if you don't mind, please, Joe, where are your goals coming from?
well, that's it. Yeah, that's
15 for Gakpo, maybe. He might be your top scorer.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like Gakpo suddenly, from being like a almost support act for Salah, Gakpo's suddenly your main man when it comes to goals and assists and stuff like that. We know Jota's injury problems. Núñez, there's lots of rumours out there that he's not overly fancied, but in a situation like this, you might just have to keep him because you're already losing one key element of your attack. Do you really want to lose another, especially if you've got all that other business to conduct? Suddenly you're potentially looking at Szoboszlai and thinking, do we need someone with more goals in there? Do you move Szoboszlai back further into deep line midfield and put a bit more of a goal scoring 10 in there or something? It's hard, isn't it?
These are the major issues. And Joe, if we can move to the next graphic as well, then what I've done is I've gone with what I consider the most likely, and I've gone with we've kept Van Dijk, we've kept Van Dijk, we've kept Salah, and Trent Alexander-Arnold has moved on. Now the players this time circled in green are players who I consider to be potentially saleable assets this summer. So you've got Queevy and Kelleher, of course. You've just signed Mamardashvili. I've always thought 40. You said 30 before. I've always thought 40.
No, I was thinking
Kelleher.
40 to be honest. I was thinking 40 actually. But
Kostas Tsimikas, because I think you sign a left back and Robertson becomes your
yeah, you can't really
understudy.
You wouldn't get much for Robbo now. I don't think
Exactly.
you'd get an alright fee for Tsimikas, I suppose, or a better fee.
You might get 5 to 10 for Endo. Elliott becomes a huge saleable asset, but equally
He's publicly stated he's staying, hasn't he? That's the tricky thing.
there's that, and the fact that what you said before is if you get like a different type of number 9, do you need someone who's going to be a bit of someone who can unlock a defence from that position instead of a Szoboszlai? If you get a different type of number 9 in, and Núñez there now.
I would also
Go on.
I would also add Ben Doak to that, by the way, and reluctantly I would add Stefan Bajcetic as well. So I think Liverpool, again going back to what I said earlier, I think Liverpool have got ways to raise funds that wouldn't even touch the sides really when it comes to like Liverpool starters, Liverpool second strings. I'm talking about third strings really, and Liverpool could raise a fair bit from it. So I don't think we'd ever be in a situation like Man United are currently in, for example, where they literally cannot build a 3-4-3 squad for Amarim because they haven't got anyone to sell apart from the kids who they've integrated to the academy. So I think Liverpool are always going to be alright there. It's more a concern of like, even if you can raise the funds, it's a lot of business. So you want to be in a position where you have to do as little as possible. I think that's been Liverpool's secret weapon almost over the past few years. The fact that Liverpool have never really been in a position where we need to do loads of business, need to do loads of turnover, loads of succession planning. It's always been seamless.
Yeah, obviously we had the midfield rebuild, but that was pretty
apart from
that, to be fair. And so looking at the side itself, then I won't put words into your mouth this time. What are the positions that you think Liverpool need to address in the summer?
Are we removing the contract things?
Let's say Van Dijk and Salah stay.
If Van Dijk and Salah stay, a left back I would want.
Yeah. Left back, yeah.
I would want a centre mid who is a bit more deep lying than, like, say for example, Jones can do. Can we get the ball? Yeah. Jones can do this.
Yeah.
And Jones can do that.
Yeah.
I would want a midfielder who can do this and this. Someone like, funnily enough, who City have just signed, Nico Gonzalez, would have been decent. Someone like that. So a left back, a centre mid, and if we're assuming Trent goes, a right back as well.
Okay. Do you think there's any more business around that?
I think if that's the only, if Salah stays, and then in theory we have 6 forwards who are all staying, I would then see what the market's saying and think about selling Núñez and replacing him with someone who's a bit more appropriate for Slot's game, because I think there's a conflict there, and I think he's very much a sellable asset. I think you can get, I think despite some suggestions out there that he's washed or something like that, I think you could get
67,
60, beyond 60 for him, yeah. So I would have to think about doing that, but I think that one is a bit more of a luxury move to do if you're in a position to do it. Do you get what I mean? But if you've got fires everywhere, I think you think about that one less. But I don't know. What about you?
Okay, I agreed with all the positions, and I'm going to add on an attacking midfielder, a number 10.
Okay.
You
selling anyone?
Well, there's a reason Harvey Elliott was circled there.
Right.
And it's not because I don't think he's good, because I think he's really good. But the proof's in the minutes that you play on the pitch.
One thing I would also throw in there, by the way, is, again, this feels a little bit more like a luxury one, but a left-sided centre-half we've been avoiding for some time.
Yeah.
We have Kwanzaa as a backup. We have Gomez as a backup. Kanate's getting linked to PSG with just under 18 months left on his contract, I think.
Yeah.
So you could suggest that, and Van Dijk, whether we like it or not, is getting older. So he can't keep, we haven't got a left footer, for example, out of our 4 centre-back options, none of them are left-footed. So that's another little need that you could suggest, like someone like a Hato from Ajax. I don't like the idea of Hato as a left-back, but Hato as a future Van Dijk
replacement. Jarell Hato,
yeah.
18-year-old, yeah.
He's left-footed, he's a centre-back, high ceiling. And if you get him now, for example, he's got plenty of time with Van Dijk's new contract, hopefully, to bed in and eventually succeed him. And he could get minutes at left-back here and there or something like that. But we're getting... I don't think that's as much of a priority as what I'm getting at. I think the priorities for me, if we want to improve the 11 or whatever, and if we want to keep competing in that, I think we need a new left-back and another centre-mid.
Well, I was going to ask you, from the 4 positions you mentioned, left-back, a deeper line midfielder, right-back, centre-forward, who are what ranking of importance? What's number 1? What's number 2, 3 and 4?
It's really hard, that.
Do you want me to go first while you have a little think about it? Because I can tell you mine.
Go on.
Right. I think a centre-forward is the most important, which is contrary to what a lot of people believe. But I think there's a wheel and deal thing with the Núñez there. I get the impression that he's not getting the game time that he wants, and that deal will get done in the summer for him to leave the football club. If that happens, I think Liverpool need to go out and sign a centre-forward, and one where we spoke about this last week, where Salah becomes the provider for again. A bit more what Slot did in his previous clubs. So that for me becomes, we need that, because I don't think any of the options we've got are actually working as a centre forward for Liverpool this season. We've discussed this at length.
Yeah.
I'd put it joint top, to be honest, with left back. Left back for me is an upgradable first team position. Like that needs to be done for me. Absolutely. I'd then put a right back third.
Right.
Okay. Then I'd have fourth, a deep line midfield player. And then I'd have fifth and a complete and utter curveball, someone for that position. In terms of my priorities, a la Wirtz or something like that. Now, if it's Wirtz, it probably shoots up if you can get him through the priorities, because you just take that opportunity to get better. But I think in terms of the business that I'm thinking about, that's got to be last, even though he might be the best player that I've mentioned.
Yeah. I think if you're thinking about like flaws and ceilings, and you think about them spots that you've just mentioned, I think the lowest flaw in Liverpool's first 11 is the left back.
Agreed.
I think that's where you get that's the weakest spot, I think. So I think that's it. I've been calling for us to upgrade the left back department now for at least 6 months, like, because I think it's obvious that if you don't soon, it will start stinging you more than it currently is. So that's definitely a priority for me. But I think going back to like the point that I find myself making often on these transfer shows, if you think about transfers in relation to points, out of all those positions you just mentioned, which position, if you get it right, is worth the most points to Liverpool. It is the centre forward, without question. And it depends, I suppose, who you could get in to replace Núñez. If it is an Isaac,
please,
then I'll happily put that at the top of the priorities, happily. And I would even sacrifice another 6 months of Robbo and Simicast doing the left back if you can get someone like an Isaac. But this is what I mean. It's so hard to, because it's all relative. Yeah, it's like a moving floor. It's hard to contextualize, considering something I say now could literally be out of date in 3 days, depending on something that comes out and a new bit of info that we get. Or if say within 3 days' time, Isaac signs a new contract, then it's out of date. So it's very hard to pinpoint that at this point. And the right back point, I don't disagree with you, but out of all the slots you've just mentioned, that's the one spot that if Trent does leave, we would only have one player for, really. If you're including, I don't even know if you can include Gomez really as a right back option. Gomez is as much of a right back option as Kwanzaa is, for me. Would both being kind of neither. So
what would you do with the right back? Would you bump that up the priorities for getting someone who's better than Bradley?
I would do what we've done with Gakpo and Diaz on the left-hand side.
Fight.
Yeah, I would get two, and similar with Robertson and Tsimikas, I would get a player who's just as good, if not better. Basically, fill the spot like you sign in the starter, but there's no guarantee as to who will actually be the starting left back, right back. You just let the two compete, because I think Bradley is good enough to be that guy, but not to the extent where you don't sign a right back and you just leave him to it. I don't think we can afford to do that. So I would hope for competition in there and sign on someone who can compete with him.
So for completeness, what's your priority order?
It depends on so many things. I can't answer it. Like, I think we need a left back. I really do.
I agree. I'll let you pick joint tops if you want. I picked joint top in the end, didn't I? I said centre forward first, but joint top or left back.
It's hard because as of right now, I think the two things that you can definitely say we need, regardless of contracts, is a left back and a midfielder. I think we need both of them. But in this scenario that you're giving me, I'm having midfielder at like 4th, 5th priority. When that's the only one I can confidently say we need a midfielder. So it's a bit mad. Yeah. I think the points thing you can definitely upgrade with the centre forward. I can't answer.
Okay,
I'm all over the place.
It's fair enough. So
I feel like I did answer it in a roundabout way.
I think you did. I think lots of clauses.
Yeah, caveats everywhere.
Yeah, Harvard referencing at the back of the end of the video and stuff was going on. But I think if you can follow it all, I think you can do, and I'm sure you did.
Asterix
is everywhere. Yeah. So to sort of move on then, I actually want to sort of address the January transfer window after the conversation that we've just had.
The one that's just gone?
The conversation we've just had.
Yeah, but the window
that's just gone. Do you think there was inactivity on Liverpool because of the problems that they foresee in the summer?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, I thought the word that we were in for Kvaratskhelia, and we didn't really seem to move, and there was rumours linking Núñez with Saudi. It didn't really go through. I think maybe if we were in a spot where we knew exactly what was going on with Trent, Salah and Virgil, let's say they were all staying, I think we maybe do that in the middle of the season. If you can compete with PSG, which, remains to be seen for a signature. But I think one of the reasons we maybe don't commit to that move is because it would have been quite a shift in the middle of the season, fairly expensive, a fair bit of work, when you could be doing a fair bit of work in the summer if they don't sign as you expect them to sign. So I do think it's holding you back in that sense. And again, it must be stressed at this point that when it comes to Hughes, it is an inherited problem. It's one of them. So it's kind of maybe handcuffed him a little bit for his first 12 months as Liverpool sporting director. And you could argue maybe he can't really put his foot on the gas until he knows exactly what's going on with the three of them. And the thing is with the three of them, if you're Salah, you're looking at Trent and Virgil. If you're Trent, you're looking at Mo and Virgil.
You need to get them in the room all signing at the same time.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if all three camps are kind of waiting for one of the other camps to sign first. So it's a terrible scenario to be in, like terrible situation to be in.
It's a scenario that the club let themselves get into.
Yeah.
It just maybe it wasn't Hughes at the beginning of that. So yeah, it's really fascinating to me because I think when you look at it like that and you look at the depth that we could potentially have or not have in the summer, you realise just how much business you could be doing. I mean, if we can get the final graphic up again, obviously Josh added Bajcetic to this as well, and Doak.
Doak is there, but Doak isn't circled.
You could be looking at,
as I say, the Blackers,
7 outs and 5 ins. That doesn't feel very Liverpool to me. Thanks, Joe.
No, I agree.
That's a lot of business for Liverpool to conduct in one summer, and doesn't seem likely at all. Maybe 3 outs, 3 ins. Yeah. That seems a lot of business for us.
Well, this is what's tricky. Like we don't really know how Hughes differs to Edwards with his business. We don't know how Slot differs to Jürgen with his business yet. So a lot of the assumptions we're making are based on the Liverpool of the past, and they shouldn't change that much because similar people, similar figures have got the keys now. It's the nerds are back in charge if you want, and the approach over the past few years has always been basically the hit rate in the transfer market is low. You basically got a 50-50 chance of a transfer being successful. So your way of competing with Chelsea and Man United and Man City and Arsenal is basically by not playing that game. We just won't.
The game's rigged.
Yeah, we just won't entertain such a volatile market. You can have a go if you want, and you can probably get worse, and we'll just stay as we are. But this summer, you might be pushed into that market. You might just. But even if we're not pushed into it, if everyone signs, again, it'll be interesting to see if Hughes just gets involved anyway, because he's more like that than Edwards was, or Slot wants more business than Jürgen did, or something like that. I mean, Slot would be in a position to advise such changes because he's been in the job now for 12 months. He's done a really good job, and he's had no, apart from Chiesa, he's had nothing. So he'd be in a position to say, right, can we do something here? Can we tweak the squad how I want it here? And Hughes might sanction that. So many things up in the air, as you can tell.
And one of the things that for me has changed, I've always thought this summer that Núñez and Diaz would go, but actually having done this exercise, Diaz seems, it'd be crazy to let Diaz go who can cover in all 3 front positions.
Yeah.
Whereas I've convinced myself for 6 months that Diaz is going in the summer, and just from doing this exercise, I'm like, you can't let Diaz go. There's too much business to do.
Well, people did that a year ago, to be fair. Everyone was convincing themselves last summer that Diaz was going and he was going to get swapped for Anthony Gordon and all that. But Diaz is not nowhere near being a problem at the moment. If you get up the age thing again, I think he's 28, is he, something like that. It's not the worst. He's available all the time, doesn't get injured. I know his output could improve, but it's not a fire that you need to put out. And Liverpool are approaching the point whereby they could have fires to extinguish before they move forward with the business that they actually want to do, the tweaks that they actually want to make. So, yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Just one comment here from Gino, says this show's not very interactive. Can just watch this afterwards. The reason is, Gino, thanks for the comment.
What do I mean?
A lot of our shows speak to the audience more.
Okay.
But I've always found when we're making the deep dive shows, and I hope we understand this, I'm not calling you out, it's a nice thing to talk about, because we're trying to do something that's so sort of structured compared to the normal stuff, that it can quite often, the comments can quite often take us out of what we're actually wanting to say on the videos.
It's worth noting as well, we do periodically do Q&As for this show, usually international breaks. There's one in March, isn't there?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's one of them coming up, like, they're a lot more interactive than these.
Yeah, absolutely. And Free Django says, can you ask Joffrey if he can come on a watch along one time?
For what?
The match.
For us? Oh, I thought he had his own podcast or something.
No, yeah, our Redmen watch alongs. There you go. I've asked him, he's not answered.
No, happily, yeah. Happily, mate.
There you go. Okay, that has been the deep dive for today. We're going to be doing a Manchester City preview next, which will be going out on Friday, I think, on redmenplus.com. So that'll also be on the Redmen YouTube memberships and stuff. So yeah, we're going to go and record that now. Lots of caveats around injuries and stuff, but looking forward to getting into this one. So yeah, join us on redmenplus.com or the video memberships tier that you get all the videos on YouTube. So yeah, thank you very much. Let us know your thoughts on Liverpool's situation in the comment section, and we'll see you all next week on the Deep Dive.